So before I took this tour, I was about 23 years old. I was living in Banff, Alberta, which isn't that bad, to be honest. It was actually a pretty sweet life out there. I'd hike every day, but what Banff kind of did to me was realize there was so much more to the world than just Toronto. I was in a job at that time, my contract was ending. I kind of started thinking, where's my next step in life? I had no idea what I was gonna do. I had to go back to Toronto, and I really, truly had no game plan. At that point in my life, I was still pretty introverted, I guess, is the best word for it. I kind of realized, like, I can't wait for everyone all the time. I just have to kind of go for it, take that leap forward. And if that means I'm doing it solo, that means I'm doing it solo. But the big thing was I wasn't ready to actually hop on a plane alone and discover a new place all by myself. The thought of me being in Heathrow Airport or like Barcelona's airport alone or just wandering the streets, it was really, like, it was very scary to me. So I thought, if I take a group tour, all that weight will be just off my shoulders. I'll have the opportunity to meet people easily. It just felt like a much safer route before I, went off on my own. When I was looking through Europe trips, I found Contiki, and it kind of fit exactly what I was looking for. So what I ended up doing was looking through their last minute deals, because I'm like, I gotta go to Europe in summer. Like, I wanna go to Greece, I wanna see all of these places. And I found a 32-day camping trip with Contiki, which, first off, I'm not a camper. At that time, at least, I wasn't a camper, but I was like, this is about new experiences, so just do it. I booked it. Called my parents the next day after I kind of realized I booked it and said, hey, Mom, Dad, I'm going to Europe next month. And actually, when I was at the airport, sorry, Mom, but she started crying at the airport because she's like, you're leaving for a few months and it's the first time ever. So it was emotional for them as well, because it was a big trip. When I was sitting in the airport, I was almost, I hate saying this, but I was basically regretting everything, because everything was coming to life. It was amazing. There was a group of about 30 of us probably on the Contiki tour, and it was so much fun. There were people on that tour all the way from Australia to South Africa to like New Zealand, Canada, and it was just incredible to meet people from across the globe. Everyone was just so opening and welcome, and I've never felt so in a group in my life. They opened me up a lot. There's nothing negative to even say about them, because when you're in a group like that, you're forced to meet each other. You're forced to basically, for lack of a better word, love each other. They become friends for life, and some of them I haven't talked to in about a year or so, but I know for a fact if I'm in Australia, I can sleep on all of those couches, and if they ever come to Toronto, they can come visit me. There were few moments where I knew it was the right decision that I'd ever made. There's this boat in Greece that you go on when you're in Corfu with Contiki, and it's called George's Boat. Shout out to George's Boat. You basically go on a little cruise around the island, and you have a couple drinks, you have lunch and eat a bunch of food, and you jump off the boat, swim around, and you go to all these incredible spots around Corfu. I remember there was one specific moment where I was just like treading water basically in the ocean, like looking at where I was, looking at the boat I jumped off, and I went, these are the moments that I need. These are the moments that are gonna help me grow, make me more confident. I just realized at that point that everything kind of came together, and I had changed tenfold than what I had been beforehand. I wasn't feeling anxious around these people anymore. I had felt comfortable going up to people in restaurants on my own, saying hello, talking to locals, and it wasn't as scary as I thought it would be. And it's the tour and it's that trip that really changed my life. Biggest change in my personality from before I left and I guess now, and how it changed me, was definitely in terms of, how shy I was before, how anxious I always felt when I would, I'd go to a party and I'd be nervous to approach someone new, or I'd be nervous to kind of walk up to a group of people and start talking to them. And, you know, travel changed that completely. If anyone knows me now, they're like, Katie, go to a networking event, you know? She jumps in on group conversations, it's fine. And, you know, maybe that's partly my career that's done that to me, but I think a massive contributor was that group tour and travel in general. Thank you, Contiki, you're epic, and because of you, I'll always have no regrets.